Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Before the First Cast with your host, Mr. Calvin Herndon. Today, happy Friday. As everybody has known, especially here in the Mid Atlantic and the southern regions, it has gotten cold outside. I believe this week we were in single digit weather. Um, so, what's more fitting when the cold weather comes to talk about my top winter baits or baits for January? So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to break these baits up into um, regions. So for us, for me, anyways, I break it up as two separate regions. I go from Virginia to the north, and then I go from Virginia to the south, the Carolinas, and south of us. So let's start out with my first couple baits for the north. I really, really like fishing this time of year. There's not a lot of people on the lake, so you pretty much have the lake to yourself, but it's also a challenge. And for you northern guys, the ones that, your lakes aren't froze and you're able to fish your lakes, hopefully these baits will help you catch more fish during this time. My first bait that I'm gonna recommend or that I throw during this time of year is some sort of blade bait. This is the Acme Techno V Rod. This is a blade bait. Um, Recommendations for blade baits, there's so many. You can do the Molex Triage Vibe, the Silver Buddy. Weight is really important this time of year with baits. Um, Usually, I will stick around, 3/8 to a half. You wanna get it down there fast, but you also don't want it too fast where the fish can realize that it's not a real shad. Because this time of year, you're trying to mimic the bait fish because the bait fish are dying off. They're super lethargic as well, and where they're gonna be, especially for the northern guys, they're gonna be on those deeper breaks. That's why the size matters in this case, because you kinda wanna get it down there. The way you're gonna work this kind of blade bait is honestly kinda like a rattle trap, because you want that vibration. You want short pops of your rod so the bait vibrates. But yeah, that's something I would go to this time of year, especially if you're struggling to get a bite. These things work. They work in Virginia. I I had a buddy go out last January, caught a 4 pounder on a silver buddy. So on a deep break, just I believe the fish was suspended out on the break and he couldn't resist. So blade baits do work in January, wherever region you're from. Um, my second bait is kind of different for, because it's tough in the north, especially it's cold, really cold up there, and you have those super lethargic fish. Um, it's a bigger profile bait really may not work for these fish, because their bait may be smaller. Um, Anyways, my second go-to would be a micro jig. Right here we have the Missile Baits micro jig. Um, I like a 1/4 ounce micro jig just because it sinks faster and it gets down faster. Now, a micro jig has two different size heads. They have a football head and they have a round bend head, which I really like that you can mix up the different styles. But there's a reason for different styles. So the lakes I fish have a lot of rock in them. So I will definitely be choosing the football head. So if your lake has a lot of rock, um, definitely go with the football head. But if you're fishing around, wood, grass, something like that, go to your traditional round, round ball head, jig head for the micro jig. It is a perfect imitator of crawfish or other bait fish in January. And missile bait has come up. Unfortunately, I don't have one sitting here, but a micro D bomb, which would be a perfect. trailer for this. Really, you can pair up any small trailer with the micro jig. I'm just trying to think of other jig trailers I've used, like a mini style beaver. Like that time of year, you don't want something with a lot of action because the fish are really kind of lethargic. They want something kind of not in their face. Um, they're not the crawfish this year is or this time of year is not really moving fast. So you can just slow roll it or you can drag it on the bottom real slow. And I would guarantee you would get a bite on the micro jig. Um, a lot of people overlook it uh, this time of year. I don't really know why. It is a proven fish catcher, um, but especially here in Virginia, I don't think a lot of people throw it, and it's a very sneaky bait in Virginia to get really big bites. I just I love it. You know, you can't beat the micro jig. Thanks, shout out to Mitchell Bates for coming up with the micro jig as well. I think it's a great design. Um, so so those are my two baits for the northern regions, and that, like I said, that's from Virginia up to Maine as far as it goes. Now let's transition to my southern lakes, and that's going to be Virginia down to Florida. You know, where that water temperature is still hanging 30, mid 30s, you know, high 40s. Um, I believe our lake here in Virginia was roughly at 38, 40-ish here recently. Um, for the month of January, people are going to think I'm crazy from what I'm about to pull out, but I have caught some really big fish on this bait that I'm about to pull out. And you wouldn't think about this bait when you are fishing in January, but that bait is a tight wobbling crankbait. People say tight wobbling crankbait, isn't that something that you should be fishing in like December or months before, you know, November? This bait is great in January. Not a lot of people are throwing a tight wobbling crankbait because they're not believers in it. I love crankbait fishing, and I can tell you it catches fish. There's multiple things you can throw. Um, that mimic or that are exactly like this Berkeley Fritz side. This is one bait I have confidence in though. Um, you could throw the Rapala Shad Rap. That is huge. That's a huge bait. That goes dates way back in the old days. I don't want to say old days because they still make them today and they're just as good as they were 20 years ago. Or you could throw a speed trap. People love throwing traps, especially this time of year. You can definitely catch them on a speed trap. I just have my confidence bait would be a tight wobbling crankbait. Um, Also try to find a crankbait that's silent. In the wintertime, you know, the bass are really they're it's they're really lethargic. And with a crankbait, all that noise is not needed. Now, the noise would be definitely needed to call them in for like the summertime. The key to being a successful crankbait fisherman in the wintertime and in January is slow your retrieve down. Slow that crankbait down. You don't want to burn it this time of year. You want to feel, you know, feel the rocks, feel, because the bites aren't going to be just, they're not going to hammer it. It's going to be a slow, you know, ticking bite. Also, you want to throw their cadence a little bit. Not as normal as cadence as you would do. You want to put some pauses in there. Let that bait rise up, and then, you know, then you start that slow retrieve again. Um, and color choices, you want to match your lake's forage. Um, Here in Virginia, we have a lot of different kind of bait fish in our lakes. We have shad, we have threadfin shad, we have herring, we just have crawfish, we have you name it. We pretty much have it at Smith Mountain Lake. So you want to mimic those colors that you that your bait fish have in your lake. I go a little off scheme, and I really like this cream pie color. It's just really natural. You could also do like a shad color, a nasty shad. Just some colors to recommend. Natural shad. Berkeley has, and the Fritz Style lineup has so many different color options that you can pick from. And getting to my last bait, um, I don't throw this one as much, but I will start throwing it more often. I'm not a huge believer in this bait just yet, but knowing people that throw it this time of year, and you know, it it's kind of abnormal for me not to like to throw it, and it's but people catch the mess out of them, especially in this region I'm talking about, that southern and the Carolina region, and that is a suspended jerkbait. Um, I have 2 kind of favorites. This is the Megabass 110 plus 1. This is like the staple of jerkbait fishing right here. Um, you you cannot go wrong with a Megabass jerkbait. Um, you just you want the deeper suspending jerkbait because during this time of the year, fish are on deeper breaks of the lake. And the other one I have out here, I believe is a Strike King. Excuse me, a Strike King suspending deeper suspending jerkbait. These are also great. And if you notice the color patterns I have, you're gonna have to gauge your colors by the conditions you are fishing. One thing I learned about jerkbait fishing is color really depends on the conditions. If you have like a really cloudy day, not very much sun, I'm gonna throw a more kind of not a more cloudy day is more of a this kind of color. This right here, I can't even. This is more of a natural color. And if I want, and if it's sunny outside, I want something that's translucent and it has some shine to it. So like a chrome or like a blueback chrome or something like that. That way, when the sun hits it, it lights it up. And they see that shine. I know Shimano makes a really good one that has like a flutter, um, like a strobe in it that even if the bait's sitting, it still is strobing, which gets a lot of attention from the bass. Also a Berkeley Stunner, 112 plus 2. I don't have one here, but that is another one that it gets a lot of attention this time of year. Um, so as we wrap this thing up, I hope these baits help. And also I want to kind of plug my new Facebook page. It's Calvin Herndon Fishing. And really what this page is going to have is it's going to have all my before the first cast content on it. It will have everything that the Bass Cast is promoting, or news articles that pop up. It's strictly going to be fishing related. Of course there's going to be great pictures of fish. There's going to be my tournament result. It's just going to be a strictly fishing page. um Also, if there's anyone out there that wants to come on this show and talk fishing with me, either um, find me on Facebook at Calvin Herndon Fishing. Send me a message, just letting me know that you guys want to come on and be on part of the show. Also, please like and subscribe and follow us on Spreaker if you don't already. Um, the views, the listens really help our channel grow. And like I said, if you guys want to be a part of it, um, please hit me up on any social that I'm on. If you guys have any topics that you want me to go over or talk about, please let me know. And I will get those topics out. as quickly as I can. And yes, next week I will have a guest. It's been a couple shows since we've had a guest, but we will have a guest next next week. Guys, I hope you enjoy this podcast. Um, and for everybody here at the Basscast, we hope you can use what you've learned here and catch a mega bag. Until next week, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you. Go catch some big fish. See you guys later.